Well, good afternoon. Thank you so much for listening to Lament of Hope podcast. I'm very excited to have Angelica Hale here. Um, it's crazy how long ago this was now, but she was the runner-up for the 12th season of AGT, and I remember watching it live, and she was alongside Darcy Lynn, which I thought they took way too long for these two kids to like tell them who won. But regardless, uh, it was so hard for me to know which one because I liked really both of them a lot, and both of them had really impactful stories. Both of them had beautiful talents. And Angelica Hale's gone on to, I mean, she's done she did a performance in DC not too long ago for July 4th. She just recently finished Boop the musical from Broadway, and that just finished about a month ago. And now she's writing some songs, getting ready to graduate high school, and kind of seeing what's next for her. So Angelica, thank you for being on the show.
No, thank you for having me. I'm always excited to sort of talk about what's going on in my life. So this is very fun. Thank you for having me.
So I did want to ask, because you mentioned just before we started recording, living by yourself in New York. How
Mhm.
does that feel? Because I have to admit to you, when I was 18, I would not have done that. I've been too scared. So how is that independence and all of that stuff coming together?
It's definitely been very overwhelming because when I first moved here, I was starting Boop, and what a wonderful experience that was. But it was so scary because I lived in like sort of the suburbs my whole life, and then I just sort of am like smack dab here in Midtown Manhattan. So it's sort of crazy that I was able to manage everything that had to do with Boop, but also take care of myself, which was very hard, I will admit. I got sick quite often, and if you didn't know, I have like a very low immune system because I have a kidney transplant, so I take medicine to sort of make sure there are no complications in terms of that, and it makes my immune system kind of trash, which isn't great, especially for living in New York and then
Yeah. Yeah.
singing all the time. I've had to sing through sickness quite a lot, but it's been quite wonderful. I really do like the city because it's sort of my parents don't really like it, but I think it's so like there's so much at my fingertips, right? And I think that's what's really nice. I also don't have my license, and so it's really nice to be able to use public transit everywhere, and that's very fun. Getting used to the subway system has been very, very cool. Um, yeah, overall it's been nice. It's been very challenging. I mean, obviously, this is my first time even doing something like this, so I'm just happy that I'm still alive. I think I'm okay with that for now. I've I've had many goals for myself living here by myself, but ultimately, I'm happy that I'm still alive.
Well, yeah, because I mean, following you on Instagram, which is awesome in that you're really authentic with your content. So you kind of just bring people along with you in your life. Um, but I saw that you were really sick, and then you said you weren't really even fully recovered, and you had to go back to
Hmm.
finish it because you had someone standing in for a while. You had to go back, and you
Right.
said that that was really hard to be super like feeling sick and then drugged up at the same time so that you can
Yes.
function on
Yes.
stage.
I wasn't even functioning, I don't think, but I'm being honest. I know I went back to Atlanta, and this was before I knew Boop was closing because I hadn't been back since the beginning of January when I moved here. And so I was like, oh, I kind of like I was just like I already planned ahead. I was like, oh, like I've been here, doing the show for, a couple, 3 months now. I think I'm gonna go ahead and just try to like go back home for a little bit, just for like 5 days. So I finished my week off and then I went back home. Um, and then I obviously got the news that the show was closing. I was like, oh my God, this is horrible. And I was debating coming back early, but I was like, okay, I'll just finish, my time here with my family and my friends, and I'll come back. And the day the night of and like the day I was supposed to leave, I was feeling absolutely horrible. I was actually supposed to see my vocal coach that day, and I was like, I can't go. I have the worst fever ever. I think
Hmm.
it reached like 103, and I had to go to the hospital, and I was like, oh my God. Basically, I had a kidney infection, which is not good because
Right.
I only have one kidney, um, and that's from my mom. So we were like, okay, we're gonna take care of this. And I was obviously very sad because I was like, the show's ending in like 2 weeks, and I'm like, I need to go back and finish the show off. I mean, um, so I did everything I could, and obviously, uh, thank thanks to the doctors, I was able to get out within like 10 days, and after being discharged, like the next day, I flew back here to New York, and this was like on antibiotics and everything, and I was just like, I was still coughing. Like with my kidney infection, I also had like a virus, and just like it was just like that thing on top of another thing, and I was like, oh my God, my voice was fried. I was like, I don't know how I'm going to sing on stage. I don't know if my voice is even okay, but I'm gonna do it anyway. So, um, I remember the first day back, I was like still pretty like I'm obviously not fully recovered yet, and I had a lot of like severe pain in my abdomen, and so I was still trying to sort of just like get through everything. Um, and I was like, okay, I'm just gonna try to take it easy. There was a performance in that morning, and I wanted to go to it, but the and perform. It was like in Bryant Park, I think, and it was really hot at this time because it was June. Um, and no, this was July. Yes, July. It was in July. And they were like, no, you can't go. Don't do that. So I was like, okay, I'll just do the show, at night, and I did it. However, I was not expecting. I had taken like like Robitussin DM, right? You take like the little it's cough syrup, and it says on the bottle non-drowsy, and so I'm mostly relying on like cough drops and cough syrup to sort of just like survive and not cough on stage,
Yeah.
right? So I'm like I'm like, okay, I have to take this. So I take it before I leave to go to the theater. And I'm within walking distance, I'm fine. But like I I don't feel bad like backstage, but like for some reason I go into my costume and I'm on stage and I keep forgetting this is like a really bright show. Like Boop the Musical is like really like bright and colorful and the lights are like really blaring. So I went on stage and there was nothing that I was like there was no rehearsal or anything because this is the middle of the shows and you're expected to sort of just know this by muscle memory and I did um I went out there and my entrance is to run out there and I swear to God I almost fell over and I was like and I looked at Jasmine who played Betty and I was looking at her and I couldn't mask this confusion on my face because it was so like everything felt so different because obviously
Um,
I was like low key high out of my mind on cough syrup, and I was like, why does the audience sound like fake or so? I like tried so hard to like get my I
oh
like tried so hard to get my
no.
bearings. I was like, what's going on? And I was like low key shaking, and I was like, oh my God, I'm literally so I'm I'm gonna mess up so bad. So I went backstage. I looked at my dresser and I was like, I was looking at her and I was drinking my water and I was like, is it just me or does the audience sound like really like different? And she was like, no, I don't think so. Everything's the same. And I was like, okay. So I do have to dance in the show. Well, I did have to dance in the show. Very sad. I sang my number. I obviously I'm very hard on myself, but I was like, oh my God, I'm gonna cry. I thought I did so bad, but I did it, and I was proud of that. I
Yeah.
remembered my lines. I did the number where I had to dance, and I tripped and fell in the wings, and I was like, now I was already having a really rough show, obviously, so I was like, oh my God, like I felt so dizzy. I can't explain it. I think that's just like I was fine afterwards, but I was like, this is the worst show I've ever done.
Do you think
Um,
it was maybe the combination of your of the antibiotics with the cough syrup?
Absolutely. I was
Yeah.
on so many medications that I cannot possibly, I can't even, I don't even know if it was the Robitussin. I mean, obviously, I'm assuming it was the cough syrup, but like there was just so much stuff that I was on to try to like survive the rest of the shows. I only did 4 shows when I came back. So it wasn't even that much. It was just like trying to make it through the remaining so that I could just sort of like, because I'd worked on the show so much and I was like, I don't want it to close and me not be able to perform the rest of it. Um, but I did take good care of myself for the remainder of the performances. And I was literally chugging so much water, like this is like 40 ounces. I had to drink 3 of these like a day.
Wow.
Um, that's like, I don't know. I'm very proud of myself though for being able to finish it. And although this is not something I would recommend anyone do, especially do not do what I did. Um, I'm just very proud of myself that I was able to at least get my bearings and also, make it out alive. Obviously, in any other situation, I would not have done this, but I really did want to
Yeah.
finish.
Well, I think
So,
you too. I mean, I don't know much about Broadway performing, but with the other like West End actors I've talked to, know, they say like you just got to do it. It's just not really, unless you're dead, or unable to
that's
move. You kind of
that's the
just
thing.
have to push through.
Exactly. And that's something that a lot of people, and I think I did also underestimated it. It's just like when you're doing the show, there's like, unfortunately, I want to mention there's a lot of like negative stigma around like calling out, unfortunately, but I was around a very good, and this is not just like in the show that I was doing, this is just in general, like on
Sure.
Broadway.
Yeah.
But I was around a lot of really sweet and very kind people who like I think this is like the best possible way I could have like debuted on Broadway is with like these with this show specifically and with this group of people. They were always very encouraging, like don't feel like you have to push yourself. I know that there's so much pressure to do good and to make it, but like the thing is if you don't take care of yourself, they're gonna run you to the ground, right?
Yeah.
And obviously I made that decision for myself to sort of to push through. But it's something you have to look out for yourself and you have to be the one to make the decision whether or not you want to keep moving forward because it's really hard doing 8 shows a week. That goes without saying.
Yeah.
So if you don't look out for yourself, then obviously there's going to be people there to encourage you, but ultimately you have to make the decision to call out when you need to and take that extra day off, even if you feel like you can push through. Sometimes you need that because you are not a machine. I remember when I was doing Chicago, because I did do Chicago, the Chicago production before I came here to New York. And oh my God, I remember we were doing um, two show days back to back on Sunday and Saturday, and I was like, I had never performed in that frequency before, and I thought I was going crazy, but yeah, you gotta look out for yourself. You really do.
I wanted to ask you because you've had, since you were 4, right? You had the a really bad pneumonia infection, then you had to get a kidney transplant, which was from your mom, which was an amazing story. But I mean, your entire life, you have had to balance, okay, what's my health? But I just love singing. I want to make it out there. But at the same time, I have to be very careful about my body, perhaps careful than other people around me have to be. And has that been discouraging for you? Or do you ever feel that like people just don't understand that? Or is it hard? Do you feel like something that you just kind of have to chug along and decide between the two sometimes? How does that feel? Because I can understand from the sense of like, I have some things that I have to look out for. And if I go to certain places, it's like there are certain things that really would bother my stomach, and then I'll be in bed or I'll be really sick. And so it limits sometimes what I can do compared to other people. And that frustrates me, but I know if I don't do it that way, I'm going to be miserable. So It's, yeah,
I think that's been like a large part of also just like adapting to living here in New York, but also like being around a group of like a specific group of people all the time who are like, it's like sometimes you don't want to be different, right? And I think that's something that I struggled with my whole life is like I felt like I was being coddled and I felt like I was being very much sheltered. And so when I came here to New York, I was so excited that I had, you know, I was like, wow, like I can go anywhere I want to go. I can do all of these things. Obviously, I was not as ambitious as I thought I would be to go to all these places because I was obviously adjusting. But I wanted to experience things to the fullest. And a part of me was like, especially I got sick during Tech Week for Boop. And I don't know specifically at the time what caused it, but I was devastated. I was like, I'm never gonna make it. I was calling my voice teacher. I was like, oh my God, I'm gonna die. But I think that it's been a difficult thing for me to grasp sort of my whole life that I've had to be sort of different. I've had to be more careful because so badly I wanted to just be able to prove to other people that even despite all my differences and all the things that I had to go through, that I could do things regardless, right?
yeah,
There was always sort of this thing in the back of my mind. Yes, it was very discouraging in the beginning, and sometimes even now it still is that it's like if I'm just gonna get sick all the time, this is so frustrating. I'm constantly having to sing through sickness, and that's not good for the body or for your vocal cords, you
yeah,
know. So it's like it gets to a point where it's like this is really discouraging, and I don't like this. But I think music has been such a big, singing and music has been such a big part of my life ever since I was very little, and it's always just been like an inherent part of me that
yeah,
it's not something that even if I were to get discouraged by it, and even if I were to, face even more adverse challenges than I already have to face right now with being sick all the time and being a little bit weaker than others and I even have scarring on my vocal cords from when I was intubated while I was younger, and so I have um, some scarring on there, and so it makes my voice a little bit like breathier. That's also something, especially in the musical theater scene when I first started, I was very insecure about because everyone, when you're in musical theater, it's like having like a pure
yeah,
tone has always been very idealized, and that's the style of singing that you're going for. And so there's just a lot of things that obviously sometimes I can't change, or I have to be more careful, and I have to sort of grasp um, that I've had to deal with, growing up and especially being here in New York. So it's definitely been a challenge, but I'm coming more to realize I'm learning it the hard way. Because my whole life, my parents and the people around me, my doctors have told me, you have to be more careful, you have to take care of yourself, you need to. And obviously, I do all these things. I sanitize, I drink a bunch of water, I wear a mask everywhere I go, right? Um, but now it's really being like, I'm really realizing the gravity of it now that if I don't do these things, this is what I have to deal with, instead of
yeah,
people just telling me, right, this is actually something that is going to happen and it's a consequence. And you sometimes, and yes, it will work if you do take these precautions. um, but yeah, I'm having to learn it the hard way, and sometimes that's the only way that you can really learn things.
well, I think, and in our world, and I think especially in the career you're in, it's very much like there are no limitations, just embrace everything, do your best, right? But I think there's a beauty because every human being has limitations. Because you're more well known, your limitations are highlighted, but everyone's got them. So
Right.
you doing, okay, these are my limitations, but I'm still going to do what I love. It's
Mhm.
it's like everyone looks at that and you go, oh, poor Angelica, that's must be hard. But like everyone's got them. You just happen to be more well known, so everybody's looking at them. But I think there's a beauty in that you accept your limitations, but you're like, that doesn't mean I can't try and do things and enjoy my voice and come appreciate the fact, because I mean, I think your voice is beautiful. Um, and, coming to think of whether it's more breathy than you want it to be, it's like coming to love those things about yourself in the sense that that's how you are. That's what that's your story. And so you can't rewrite that part of it. And it's not even a bad thing. It's just that that's how it is. Um,
Exactly.
and so I think there's a beauty in the limitations, and that's why even on AGT, I think your story was so impactful, is because people are encouraged when they see that people aren't, and or that's not the persona that they're putting forward. But I can understand when you're mentioning about Broadway, it's like you have to, there's all of these expectations. So
Mhm.
suddenly the idea of, oh, be yourself and don't have, embrace who you are, but then you get into this and suddenly it's like actually you need to do these certain things and we need this to happen and you're like, wait, that's not how we started. And um I think that's sad because I mean when people are watching, they do really want things that are authentic.
It's true. It's true. But I think that it's really special when you see on stage, like I've when these things happen, because obviously there are expectations on Broadway. There are so many, things that people are expecting out of you in terms of your voice and your acting and obviously for the show, you know. Um, but I think there's something really beautiful because there were things, it's live theater, right? That's something that I learned as well. And something that helped me sort of quell my doubts and my fears is that this is live theater and that everyone is going to make mistakes and sometimes and people in the audience will take that as it is, but sometimes they enjoy it. Sometimes they're like, wow, this is it is live theater, and this is, sometimes someone flubs a line or someone cracks on a note, and that's okay. And I've come to terms with that, especially watching all my amazing, fellow castmates who showed up and showed out every single night. Um, and no one's gonna be perfect, especially when you're exerting yourself that much, you
Yeah.
know, over the over such a long period of time throughout the week. Um, and it's not just on stage; it's also, you know, when you're preparing to sing and when you're putting mental time and energy, and even at home. And that's another thing. Um, I want to mention someone who was very sweet and um, helped everyone and looked out for everyone. I remember I was in Chicago and I was just getting used to the whole rhythm of things. And Ian, he was a dance captain. He came to me and he was like, "Are you like doing okay? Like, what are you doing outside of this show?" Because sometimes when you're doing this all the time, it's hard to unwind afterwards.
Right.
And it's not just you're putting, at least that's what you should be doing, is at least putting, you're leaving it all out on stage, right? And obviously some days you can't do that. You gotta put maybe 80% so that you can make it for the next two shows that are happening tomorrow. But he asked me, he was like, "What are you doing, you know, outside of the show? Like, what do you like, what are your hobbies that you like to do?" And I was very surprised by this. I was like, I guess no one's really asked me that before. Because you can get lost in you get lost in the sauce. But I think it's very important. Obviously, there are a lot of expectations, yes, but something that I've come to learn and appreciate is the humanity of it all. Because again, we are not machines, and people are going to mess up, and people are going to flub things, and that's okay. And a lot of people can be toxic about that because one, they have never been in a situation like that before, and so you know, it's very easy to underestimate the things that people have to go through on
Yeah.
that stage. Um, but it's been very special because I've always had this very looming expectation over myself, sort of ever since I started singing. While it was something that I loved to do, there was this part of me that felt like I wasn't good enough no matter what I did, right? And there was always going to be someone better. And so why even try, you know? But then it all comes back to the love for the craft and community as well. I think that's something I never really, if I'm being honest, I did some theater when I was younger and I did like a bunch of theater camps, but I never like this was like the first like theater thing that I had really done. Um, and I can't believe it ended up I like got to debut on Broadway. Like that's crazy to me.
It's amazing.
I know. I'm very, very grateful. But it's really cool because it's just been so special that I've gotten to do that, and it's sort of hitting me now. Like when I obviously when I first started it, it was like, oh wow, yeah, I'm doing this, but like now it's like, wow, I did that.
Yeah.
So that's something I've really grown to appreciate is just like, you know, um, as I was growing up, obviously, it's different when you're performing once versus when you have to do it like 8 times a week.
Yeah.
And so just the fact that I was able to get through that is already something that I'm proud of in and of itself. So
When you mentioned hobbies, what are things you like apart from doing obviously shows and singing?
I love, I've always loved art, just like the general arts when I was younger. But I also just love to draw. I love doing like making letters and like scrapbooking and stuff like that. I also love collecting like figures and like little trinkets. Um, what else do I do? I also love playing games. That's something I've also loved to do. Um, what's
Like
something
card games or
like video games. When I
okay.
ever since I was younger, I was very into that. And also just like spending time with my family and friends. I feel like it's always so nice to talk about my experiences and take a break from everything to just sort of sit down and evaluate everything. But I really enjoy those things. I also really like painting. Like I came back here. I think yeah, like right before the show ended. But I've been here by myself since after my birthday, and I decided I was like, okay, I'm going to do my best to not try to stay so cooped up here in the apartment. I'm going to try to go out and do things that I like. Like I remember, I think one of the most fulfilling days I had, one of my most fulfilling days off, and I tried to make the most of my days off because it was only one day when I was doing boobas. I went to Central Park and I went to bike, and I biked to the Met, and I'd never been
Wow.
before. And I just sort of went by myself and I went to go look at all the art pieces, and it was so relaxing and so wonderful. I had a really great time. And so, but here I decided, okay, I'm gonna go. I like pottery painting, for example. So I decided,
Wow.
okay, I'm gonna do pottery painting while I'm here. I'm gonna go biking again and just sort of, because those recreational things are so, I feel like those are so much more fulfilling than just like staying at home and being on my phone, which I've been doing a lot recently. Um, but just things like that, I feel like are like, if you're going above and beyond for your craft, sometimes you have to go above and beyond to relax as well. I feel like that's something um, I've learned in the process
Do
of
you
that.
have a painting that you've made that's around you right now you can show us?
I haven't. Let me see if I can. I do have. Let me see. I did
I
do
want
some
to see
pottery.
what this art like.
Let me see. I did do some pottery. I got a text actually from the pottery painting place that it's ready for pickup, so I might go pick it up today. Um, Let me see if I have a picture of something that I went out with my friends before I came back um, to New York. Let me see if I can show it. Oh, here we go. This one right here is mine. I did a little jellyfish. This is me and my friends. We all went pottery painting. This one
That's
right here.
really good. I've never
Thank
done pottery.
you.
I've wanted to. It's
It's
fun.
really fun. It's
Yeah.
nice, especially if you like if you have a specific purpose for like what you're making, and then you can like display it. It's very nice. Yes.
Really neat. So then when you songs, is that do you find that's because I can't songwrite. I mean, I don't really have a
That's
desire to.
understandable.
Yeah, but it's like um I've always wondered, I was talking to an artist a year ago or so, and she was telling me that she would songwrite, and it was like there was this expectation of what type of songs she would sing. So she'd have those songs, right? But then if you asked her, she'd have her own really personal, vulnerable songs that she would write out and that she was trying to get out into the world at that point, apart from like the really famous arias and things that people knew about her. And do you have that same tension, or do you find that you can just, I will just want to put out there the songs that I really identify with?
In the beginning, yes, because I had grown up with a specific image and I felt pressured, probably like your friend did or whoever you interviewed, just sort of to write music or to just perform music that people knew them for, right? I felt sort of the same way. Um, but over, I think, the past couple years, um, I've really changed sort of the image that I want to put myself as, and that's sort of more representative of me and who I am. And so it makes me very happy that I've gotten to do that. But the music that I write is, yes, it's very personal. And so it's been kind of a little bit of a struggle for me to sort of be more confident to put that out there.
Yeah.
Um, but it's really because it's music has been obviously my passion, but it's also been a big outlet for me for my own emotions. And so the things that I write about are obviously, yes, very personal to me, but they're also like a side that people have never seen before, and that scares me, right? And as it would scare anyone.
Yeah.
Obviously, people love authenticity, but when you're displaying a side of you that you sort of agreed, like sort of made like a mutual pact to yourself, it's like, no, I don't really feel like this is kind of like, this is very deep and personal to myself. It's like, would people even connect with that? Would people even like that? So I've just been working on overcoming that because um, if I can be able to show my craft in its truest form and be able to display my own songs without having to worry about things like that, I think then I can be truly fulfilled as an artist, I believe.
Yeah.
Because then I'm just displaying the truest form of myself for people to see and to get that validation that people are like, hey, like I really connected with this, or this really reminded me of something that happened to me. Then it's like, wow, you really aren't alone when you write about certain specific emotional things ha- that have happened to you. So that's where I want to be in terms of my own songwriting and in terms of um, stuff like that. But yeah, I do agree. A lot of my music that I write for myself and hopefully that I put out for other people to listen to is very different than the songs that the power ballads that everyone sort of knows me for. And so it's a little worrying of how people will, uh, sort of take that, if you know what I mean.
Yeah. Is there a certain topic that you hope to talk about more in the future? Maybe not now, but in the future at some point?
Yeah, I mean, definitely the one of the most reoccurring themes that I've written about is sort of the pressure of sort of that I felt growing up to sort of perform and not perform like on stage. I've always loved that, but perform as in like meet a certain expectation. But there's also a side of me that I sort of never got to experience like teenage life or teenage school life. And so I was having a lot of my first experiences like just in the past couple years when I started, making new friends and hanging out with more people that I knew from my elementary school, and it was it's been a lot, and it's been a crazy year in terms of that, and a lot has happened that I've had the great pleasure to write about, although it wasn't a great pleasure for me at the time.
Yes.
Um, so That's definitely and it's kind of weird, I guess, to write about simple stuff like that because, it's like, oh, you didn't really get to experience stuff like that, you know? But then you did, and it's like it's so much later than I feel like everyone else. Um, and it's like, wow, that's so crazy. But and then a lot of people will say to me like, "Oh no, you've got your whole life ahead of you. You're so young." And I'm like, I know. I guess it's sort of just about feeling behind from your other peers who you feel like they've experienced so much more like socially being in public school than obviously just being on in online school for like
Yeah.
your whole life. So
Is there what experience did you have recently that like you just blew your mind? They were like, wow,
I
this
had
is
a
incredible.
falling out with a friend, and I'd never had a falling out like that with my friend before, and it was
Oh,
horrible. It was so heart-wrenching. And
aren't
when I moved
those
to New York, those are the worst because I was so close with her, and it was like everything just fell apart. And there were some other things as well that contributed to that with obviously with us being teenage girls or whatever.
sure.
Um, but it was devastating. I moved here to New York and I spent I think at least 2 months here, um, lamenting over it
Oh
and
yeah.
wondering if I should message her back or like message her again or not. Um, it was very sad, and I still often think about it because it's been a year now since we stopped being friends. Um, and I still think about her very often, and I sometimes wonder if she thinks about me too. That's definitely one of the songs that I wrote about. Um, that was I think a first experience, and it was very very sad. And
I want to hear
um,
that song.
I
Gosh,
know.
I can
It's
relate to you. I one of the worst times probably for me was in college.
mhm,
And in the time that it was happening, I
mhm.
definitely was much more emotional than I am now when I think back on it, and I can see the areas where both of us failed. But
I
I still think about her quite often, and I'll go, I wonder. But it's a weird feeling you have of like, okay, but too much time has passed, and we're just too different, and like it would be just weird to reach out and go, hey. And then you don't know if you do meet them again, like you're trying to rewrite something, and you're like, maybe that's not what I'm supposed to do. But
right.
I relate to that exactly. It's like I do. It's like I still remember her clearly. I still remember conversations that were really encouraging to me.
Mhm.
And I miss that time that we had.
Me too. There's a
Yeah.
lot of things that I like. I completely agree with like that I didn't delete any of our photos together because I have this strong like sense of like, oh, these were memories that we made together, and even though we're not on like amazing terms now, like those were memories that we made and I was happy then. And so I don't want to like delete things like that. But I completely agree like so much time has passed and we are very different people now. And it's like, and sometimes something that I've come to terms with because I feel like the type of person I was growing up was I tried to fix everything, right? No matter if it was with
Yeah,
someone else or if it was for other people. Like if even if I wasn't even involved, I'd always do my best to sort of
me too.
do my exactly to sort of fix things. And this is like the first time where I was like, maybe I don't need to do that. Maybe this is one of those things where it's like you have to just sort of leave it alone. And and it was hard coming to terms with that because when we sort of stopped talking, it was like, oh, it'll be fine. It's just a thing where we're just gonna, take a break and like, you know, we'll eventually come back. But then like months and months and months and months and months pass by, right? And it's like, oh, I guess, things are gonna stay this way.
Yeah.
And I think it was coming to terms with that, but also during this time, I was like going to here. I was moving to New York and trying to figure out what I was gonna do and where I was gonna live, and oh my gosh, all these different things. And in the back of my mind, I would always, think, I wonder. you know, if she's going to be able to, yeah, or if I'm going to ever get the courage to message her again. And I guess it's okay that things haven't, um,
Yeah.
turned out that way, and I'm okay with that. I know maybe one day things will change, but this is how it is right now. And I also sometimes I have this guilt of, the things that I said, or the things that I even when I the things that I wrote about when I was in a very emotional state, right? Obviously looking back on it now, it's like, oh my gosh, these are so like, hold on, this is so weird. Like, I'm in such a different state of mind. I don't know if this is like okay. But then I was like, you know what? This is okay because these are my emotions, right? Even if
Yeah.
they even if I think differently now, I wrote this when I felt a certain way, and
Yeah.
that's okay. Because I guess I sort of had this like sort of like complex of like, oh, I feel guilty for feeling these certain emotions even though everyone feels them, right? I feel like, oh, I'm like not that person. I'm supposed to be different than that. But then I realized like everyone feels emotions that aren't great.
Yeah.
Everyone feels like really bad about stuff and says things that they don't mean, and thinks things that they don't mean, and that's okay. And I think that's the beauty of it all, because people are human. And
Yeah.
I've just been coming to terms with being okay with making mistakes, and being okay with, hey, I know that this was wrong, but I'm learning from it. I
Yeah.
think that's the most powerful thing that you can do.
I
So
agree.
I'm okay with letting bygones be bygones. If things change in the future, then that's okay too. And that's okay too.
Well, I f I hope you publish a song like that because to be honest with you, I've always heard music, and maybe it's my music is limited, I don't know. But the music I usually hear is like about a lover, like
Hmm.
breakup.
Yeah.
And you obviously relate to that in some way most of the time because almost everybody by the time they've reached 25, like me, you've had a breakup.
Yeah.
Um, but when but friendships, I don't think I've ever heard a song where it was particularly for friendships. Like you could interpret a lover song maybe for friendships, like you could like
Hmm.
think about it that way. But but I've never heard an artist who was like, it's because I lost a friend and I was really sad. And I'm like, I
That's
feel like that relates to everybody, no matter what age group they are.
that's so true. I feel like there's also a lot of people are still kind of finicky on like how you said, like songs are like lover songs can be also interpreted that way. But there's also like there's like a fine line. Sometimes, like, when you have a really deep connection with someone, and sometimes people are like, oh no, these songs are obviously very much written for like lovers, and things like that. So I feel like yes, they can be interpreted in that way, but it's I would love to see like a really strong, especially when it's someone like your best friend. Like
Yeah.
I love to see a song like that. I think one song that sort of inspired me, obviously I interpreted it, um, and the way that I obviously there was one song that literally drove me to learn the guitar. I had not learned the guitar in like I had gotten this guitar years and years and years ago, and I had not been able to learn it because something with my fingers. So it was too painful. I was a little baby about it. But I was so driven emotionally. I was obsessed with the song because it related to me at the time. At least the way I interpreted it. It was called I Love You, I'm Sorry by Gracie Abrams. And when I heard it, I was
Oh.
like, gosh. But there's also another song that was apparently the lady who wrote it. She spoke on it and she said it was a friendship breakup song. And I thought that was so special.
Oh,
I
wow.
called We
I need
Hug
to
Now.
look these up.
You do! Because they definitely helped me during I definitely got many needed tears out. Because it's called We Hug Now. It's by Sydney Rose. I think you should listen to it.
Yes. Well, why? Okay, so you're gonna put out a song, maybe, about
Maybe.
friendship some
I hope so.
point?
I hope so. I hope that people, I want it to be able to be interpreted many ways. I think
Okay.
that's something. I don't know, probably a lot of other artists feel the same way because, they want it to be relatable to other people. But there's also like many niche experiences that I feel like a lot of people, I want other people to be able to be like, oh, yeah, I had this with a lover or a friend or a
Yeah.
family member, and I felt the same way. So it's like a niche experience, but people can relate to it in multiple different ways. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, Angelica, I want to be respectful of your time, so I'm just going to ask you one more question
Mhm.
because it's so, we were talking about all these different topics, friendships and performing and sickness, identity, and all these things. If you were to not have the name Angelica Hale anymore, like someone took that out, and you were just going to have one word that would describe who you are, what word do you think you'd pick?
Hmm. Oh my gosh. That's just so hard. You have to ask someone else this question, someone else who knows me better than I know myself. Let me think though. I think it would be maybe, hmm, complicated. That sounds so sad to describe yourself, but
No,
I
I
feel like
totally.
I feel like that's something I've tried to come to terms with is that, sometimes I'm not the way everyone wants me to be. I'm more complicated than that. Or maybe, I don't know. I feel like I don't know something that I have been working myself up to one of my goals, at least, living here by myself in New York, is sort of to just sort of find myself, right? And I feel like everyone has that goal and they're moving to a new city when they're a teenager and they're like, oh, everything is at my fingertips and they want to find themselves, right? But I really I feel like this is my opportunity to figure out, myself and my craft and my own brand and what exactly I want for myself, um, without the influence of people that I really care about, which sounds bad, but especially when
No,
you
I understand. Yeah.
are, you know what I mean? Like especially when people want things for you and it's like, but what exactly do you want for yourself? Because it's like, oh, do I want this for me because this person wants this for me, or do I want it because I truly want it? And that's something that I've struggled with a lot over the years. Um, and I feel like this is my true opportunity to figure out who I am at its core. And so you know what, I would say complicated and in a non-negative connotation. That's just who I
Yeah.
am.
Well, Angelica, I am super excited because I think, you know, with social media, the content you put out, you are very authentic. You're trying to share your life with people. I like saw your post the other day. Maybe it was, I don't know when it was, about like I'm 18, I don't have a license. And it was funny to see it because it's like y you're even sharing it. I'm supposed to have hit a milestone and I didn't. Apparently, that's a milestone and like it's relatable because we don't all hit milestones at the same time and we make them a milestone, but in reality it doesn't have to be that important that it has to be at that time. And so I'm just excited because I do hope you get to do more Broadway and performances because I mean you really even when I saw the pictures that would come out with the press with that and everything, like you looked like you were having an amazing time.
I
Um,
was. I truly was.
but I really want to hear some of your music. So I'm excited for when that happens.
Oh, me too. I hope that it happens very soon. I'm definitely still working on it, but I'm definitely trying to build off the momentum that I have here in New York since Boop. So that's obviously my number one priority, but I'm definitely not forgetting about my music. That's for sure.
Okay. All right. Well, we're holding you to it. People are going to remind you, be like, hey, where's that friendship song?
I'm okay with that. I'm okay with that. Okay.
You have a good day and hopefully you're happy.
Oh, thank you so much. I
You're
appreciate that.
welcome. It was talking with you. Bye, girl.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye.